End. I want to talk about what we're doing in Islay High School, and I want to talk about 5 different topics to look at. I'll give you a context, and the context I want to show you is where we came from and where physically we are. We are on the west coast of Scotland. Thank you very much. I think a cheer at the background there. How many schools can draw a line around their catchment area on a map of the UK? That's how big a geographical area we cover. Islay takes 2.25 hours by ferry to get to the mainland. It takes 2.5 hours drive to get to Glasgow. We can't take groups easily. We do, but we don't do it easily. It's quite famous for some quite nice products, and it's famous for its seafood, farming and tourism. That little boat has an XP computer built into it. Every fishing boat, logs, technology is in every piece of the island life. Every farm is connected. It's the way they get their claims in from the EU. They all understand technology. It has beautiful beaches. And I just put that up so when you walk out into Parliament Square, it's a little bit different. This is a view from one of our English rooms. Looking down across Bowmore Distillery on the side, that is School Street. If you pick up a bottle of Bowmore, it's lovely stuff. The address is School Street. We're at the end of School Street. We have 245 pupils covering an area of approximately 190 miles, square miles. We have one 6-year boy this year who travels by 10 minutes by Land Rover to get to a road before he gets a bus, before he gets a ferry, before he gets a bus to arrive at school. It's a context which is completely alien to lots of people, although I've been talking to Dan and he's suggesting a link up with the Scilly Isles, which I love that idea of. So it's a large geographical area. The other part of the background is we were walking a kind of lonely path, not just because of where we were, but because of some of the things we were looking at doing. The Scottish Executive came up with a programme 2.5–3 years ago called the Schools of Ambition Programme. The Schools of Ambition Programme basically asked one simple question, and that question was, wrong question, what would you do to make your school better? It's an incredibly powerful question. It's asking the teachers, the community, the pupils, what would you do to make your school better? And I think that's a key question. And so many times, government bodies come in and say, if you did this, it would get better. So we had to look at our context and say, we wanted to do lots of things. Increase the range of courses. So we put in a vocational unit. We now teach construction skills, not as a separate college. They don't go to another building. It's simply another part of the course. We've removed the age and stage restrictions. We don't teach to an age group. We teach to a class level, and whoever's appropriate to that level, that's the class they go into. It made it much more efficient use of a timetable. It freed up lots of time in a timetable, so we actually have activity afternoons. So instead of, on a Wednesday and a Friday afternoon, the pupils may be doing archaeology. They may be doing sailing, kayaking. They may be doing movie appreciation, movie making, podcasting within the context of the learning. And we wanted to develop personalised learning. The Scottish Executive offered £100,000 per year for 3 years. That's what it cost us. It's not a huge amount of money. We just got a bill in for new windows, which was £800,000. So on the scale of things, it's not a huge amount. In a national context of Scotland, we also knew that Glow was coming along, which is a national intranet for every 3 to 18-year-old. So we knew all the resources would be online. We knew all the video, the BBC, lots of things rolling out in a safe and secure environment. We also knew that Pathfinder North was linking every periphery school in Scotland to the Janet University net. So come April, we should be having a microwave connection straight into the university network backbone. That'll be nice. We linked with industry partners, and here I want to acknowledge one individual, Mark Adams, who's the education manager for Microsoft Scotland, who came over and didn't dictate, didn't say we can give, we can do this. He sat and he listened. He listened to what we wanted to do. He sat, he interviewed the kids, he talked to the kids, he talked to the community, the parents, the local industries, and he said, we can work with you and we will support you. And through him, we linked up with Samsung, and through Samsung to Lanway, who were our main suppliers. That's the background. That's where it came from. My head teacher, her first qualification is criminal psychology. And I'm always wondered whether that was a huge influence as well. It's quite a handy thing to have in a school, particularly at head teacher level. So what has happened? Well, what has happened is we've taken every pupil and distributed Q1s. We identified the Q1s as having full day battery life. We could run Office, we could do a full suite, they could take them home, do their homework, plug in cameras, all the peripheries. It's a foundation device to plug everything else into. The Q1s are small enough to pack away in a bag, carry in the bus, robust enough to survive, and they have. And we've given out full coverage. Every teacher has a tablet PC. We put in wireless projectors because we wanted to take the teachers away from the front of the class. We wanted the learning to be in the hands of the learners. And I think it's quite an important aspect of what Dan was saying as well. It's several people have said. So every resource is available, whether they're video, audio. And one of the really interesting things is that those 15-year-old boys who hate being criticised by anyone and react in quite aggressive ways don't mind being criticised by a machine. If they practice their handwriting and the machine says, I don't recognise it, they just rub it out and do it again. There's no emotional attachment to that, which again gives it a much more collaborative feeling. I think we're moving towards the P school. I think I was very, very impressed by lots of people over the last few days, but I'm very impressed with what Dan said there. What's happening next? Oh, I wish I knew. We have so much potential in what we can do now, so much flexibility. We have space in the curriculum to move things around. We can change things extremely quickly. We don't have to follow the Scottish Exam Board curriculum. We can choose other curriculums. And so much so that we're now putting every pupil through IC3. So they get benchmarked at the beginning, their skills are assessed, they get individual. So they've got the foundation skills. We're offering a web design course through Adobe. So they sit the exam online in the same way as IC3. We're a Microsoft Academy, so we can offer those. And those are linked up to the Scottish Qualifications Authority exams. And so we get dual qualification. They sit one exam, they get two qualifications. 2 for one offer in Islay. We're also linking up with other schools, and as I was saying, I think linking up with the Islay Isles would be a fantastic same-size school, one-to-one, brilliant. Next month, we're linking up with a school in Georgia, in America, and our kids are researching local history, sending it to their peers in America, who will create a 3D model of the local monument, and they'll be doing the same in America and sending it to our kids. It just instantly frees up communication. And I know I'm preaching to the converted in the House of the Methodists, but I think it's quite appropriate. We'd also, in a longer term, we'd like to have a presentation space, assembly hall. Simply put a projector up and have guest speakers. Some of you would like to speak to our kids from where you are. Talk to them 10 minutes, 15 minutes, going into a class, just by connecting to the internet. And I think a music studio. Music is a very strong local culture. I think there's an opportunity there to develop that. And as I said earlier, access any course we feel is appropriate for that pupil. As most of the UK, we have quite a few Polish students coming through. And we're already planning, we can offer them Polish online. They can actually link in, connect in, and it's appropriate to them. In a school our size, with 30 members of staff, there is no way we could offer that range of courses. It instantly frees it up. That takes me on to the sustainability. The big question How do we keep it going? Actually, when we looked into it, the keeping it going wasn't going to be too bad. The initial setup costs were the heavy ones, but keeping it going. We're shifting away. We don't have to replace desktops anymore. Every kid has a computer. Therefore, we don't have suites of computers sitting doing nothing. We have them on demand. And as I said here, those desktops are only occasionally used, like rooms are only occasionally used. But we can go to any space we want to. We can free up the flexibility of what we're doing. And always available. If it's appropriate to bring out the computer, it's appropriate. Here we've got an English class. Pupil sitting reading, I think it's of Mice and Men, just taking notes. I have another photograph of a pupil who sits with Audacity directly on the machine, directly below her, and as she's reading, she presses the record button and records what her answers are going to be, and then goes away and writes it up. We hadn't encouraged that. They developed these skills. The savings from photocopying alone shocked me. We, as a school of 245 kids, spent £23,500 on photocopying. Speaking to Canon, who have now provided us with a full paperless management system, they're supplying pallets of papers a week to schools. Just to hand out, print out, hand in, put in the recycle bin, go back in that cycle. The costs are astronomical. If we save half that amount, not all of it, half that amount, we can provide a whole new set for each first year coming in. That's without even touching our IT budget. Oh. Let me go back. Yeah. It really does come down to identifying what you want to do, making sure it's clear, making sure that you know what systems are in place. We trained the teachers for a year on a voluntary basis. We didn't say, you must learn. We said, there's a surgery open. How can you use this equipment? We've created peer mentoring groups amongst the staff so they support each other. We created peer mentoring groups amongst the pupils to support each other. But they're very good at that anyway, I must admit. It's one of the advantages of a small rural community is that they do know and support and help each other. It's also got the negative side of, bitchiness and all those things, but they do work very well together. And the costs, as I've already stated, are not astronomical. When they scale up, then the costs reduce, as everyone here knows. If we're talking at £500 per pupil for 3 years, it's not a huge amount of money. And I know I've been very quick, and I hope everyone has understood my accent, but I think that's all I would like to say, just a very short, sharp talk.